On this episode, man, are you about to learn a lot. Of course, it's brought to you by MaxEffortMuscle.com. Danny, having Jake Emery was amazing, huh?
Yeah, pretty mind-blowing. Got to go on the field trip before.
Yes.
And got to see, a monster in the making.
It's crazy. Trey?
Yeah, it was a great episode. We had the CEO of laying pipe on today.
You were holding on to that one. This motherfucker.
Thought of that 2 seconds in.
Yeah, this fucking guy.
He
He
did.
did.
Yeah. There's some boss shit on this fucking episode. Having Jake on was a blast.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys.
Jake, it's crazy being in the video and on the audio, right?
Right.
So good. Listen, I've known Jake for a long time. I've saw evolution of this dude. Millions of dollars of business, crazy work ethic, and he ain't fucking scared, and he does lay a lot of pipe.
Lay all the time,
Lay pipe, baby.
Let's go to the episode later. All right, Roundtable. I'm your boy Corey G. That's at Small Arms Danny, at Trey Speed, and the graphic gangster himself, Cole Susak. Special guest, Jacob Emery in the house. What's up, Jacob?
How we doing, guys?
What up?
Man, I'd say this is long overdue.
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time.
coming, yeah.
So, been in the gym with Jake for a long time, part owner of Max Effort, bought out a big-time business. We're going to talk about, known him since he was a pretty young dude out here, looking jacked out here in the streets. And what's been amazing is the transformation as a person, as a businessman, as a lifter. We lifted at Westside together. We've been off and on, our paths have continued to cross. And I think we had just done a field trip with the Max Effort team to Jake's place so he could show everybody around so you guys could actually see what he's managing. I'm super proud as his friend and his business partner to have him on the show. He's listened to the podcast for years, and now he's in the video.
There we are.
How's it feel?
Good. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, it's
been
cool.
a long time coming.
Where do we start at, Jake? What do you think? Let's talk about, usually when the guys come through, whoever it is, it's like we've had what was our first interaction, I guess?
About 15 years ago, Calvin Miles, old trainer.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Calvin Miles.
So Old Advantage Club, you and him were doing.
He did a bodybuilding show.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he was my trainer, and he introduced us. And
how old were you then?
17, I think. So I was young and green.
Yeah.
And pretty much insane. So, and
I don't think that's changed,
well,
but that's
maybe
okay.
not, yeah. So he introduced us, and I started selling vitamins for you.
That's right.
Whatever the scheme was that you were in at the time.
Yeah. One of the MLM things.
Yeah.
Love it.
Took out my life savings to
Yeah.
sell them vitamins and ended up failing miserably. It's horrible. I was not good at all at sales.
Yeah.
So didn't have a network, didn't have anybody. This was before social media really popped too. So it was.
You got to figure
who
this
do
is
you know?
probably early 2000s.
2005.
Yeah.
2006,
Okay.
yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Do you
Way
remember
before.
the name of that? MLM?
Which I'm not sure which one
Do you
that.
remember what it was called? I'm just curious.
It was like a gel.
Oh, Agile.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was how we got the muscle gel.
Little vitamin packs.
Oh, that's
yeah.
right.
So
yeah.
that evolved because I learned that from that business, and then we used it in MP, which we were ahead of the game because it was collagen protein and no one knew what the fuck it was. Now it's wildly popular. I was like 10 years ahead of that. But when you get in those projects, like, when you're young and you don't have a network yet, that's kind of why MLM is good and bad. But the sales part you can learn from it, and it's that's what I like the most about it because I was like, God, you got to really fucking hustle to make this work.
Right.
But then I realized I didn't want to be the person in the MLM. I wanted to be the person owning the company.
Exactly. Yeah. And I realized at that point I was horrible at sales and I had no network. So it did not last very long at all.
Yeah. Well, you obviously, I think when we first met, I thought you were going to be in our industry.
Me too.
Because you
I did
wanted to
too,
compete.
yeah.
You had good build. You were always in the gym. So like, fast forward to, we're around each other quite a bit. And my memory of you, Jake, was like, this was what my perception was. And you can tell me whether it's real or not. I don't know if I've even said this to you before, is that you had all this potential. You'd show up for a period of time and then I wouldn't see you for a period of time. And my perception was that you'd be running with maybe some of the wrong guys for a little while. This is totally not something I even know for sure. And then you'd kind of get it back on track and I'd see you for a little while. And then I always think, and that's when I think that day came up where I finally said, dude, I see all this potential in this guy because I know it's there, but like, what are you really doing? So is that accurate at all?
Dialed it in. Yeah, that's exactly it. So when I was young, I got in a ton of trouble all the time. Parents got divorced when I was young and I acted out on it. I had the opportunity because of the separation. I had time, and no one was really watching what I was doing. So I did whatever the hell I wanted for years. And then, I'd be training good for a few months, and next thing you know, running with the wrong people for a few months, and then back and forth. Exactly.
I could read that on him too, because I was like,
Yeah.
man, he's fighting it. You know what I mean? And
Right.
that's what it felt like.
Yeah. And it was always that, like Calvin took me under his wing. He's like, man, you got so much potential. You need to put your time into this. And I would. I get dialed in, maybe prepping for a show, doing whatever. Next thing you know, I'm out again.
Be out drinking, doing whatever,
raising all
acting
kinds of
wild.
hell. Yeah.
What then kind of pulls it back? I know that we had some good interactions where I was trying to help or just like kind of check you, but like what really started to like kind of pull it back together?
There's a couple things. I remember failing at the sales with the old product, and I was disappointed. So one of the reasons I probably left is because I didn't want to face you and tell you that I sucked. Like I was embarrassed.
Sure.
I failed miserably, and I didn't think I would. I thought I was going to kill it. So I failed, and then I'm not training anymore. And I'm out of town. I'm working in a hotel room, and I'll never forget this. I walk in my room. I have Spike TV on, and I hear this voice. I'm like, man, I know who that is. Like, why do I recognize a voice on the TV? It was fucking Corey. Corey's
Training
on the-
Rampage.
He's training Rampage. And I didn't even know about MP at the
Spike
time. So I'm
TV.
like,
Yeah.
and I was like, this dude, left, went and started a supplement company. And
Yeah.
I just failed and got out of it. I bailed. So I was almost like ashamed. But then that let something under me. So I started coming back to old school probably a couple months after that.
We were talking about this morning because I didn't know that part about him seeing me on TV or whatever. And I told him the Rampage thing is so funny because I love Rampage to death. He's actually a fucking character. But I was miserable when I was training him because he was so fucking lazy. I mean, so I would fly to Denver twice a week to train him for the John Jones. Yeah, it was the John Jones title fight. I thought that would be the pinnacle of my career, and I fucking hated it. But it goes to show that, there was a lot of people paying attention, and I was in it, and I committed to Rampage. I mean, fucking Rampage would go to Target, buy M&Ms, and eat them in the break room with the fucking employees at Target. So when I went to Target by my office, they're like, hey, where's Quentin at? I'm like, well, he's done with camp. They're like, he would just like buy candy and then just sit in our break room.
Jeez.
And cheat on his diet. It's a fucking mess. But so when you come back home, because you were working you were not underground but in ground,
Yeah.
right? You were working in pipeline business already at that point,
Yeah,
right?
at that point, yeah.
And then you came back and came to old school.
Came back. Well, I got laid off for the winter, so it used to
Okay.
be almost like a seasonal deal. Now we're pretty much full time. I mean, there is no shutdown period, but then it was 3 or 4 months in the winter. I'm at home, so I was training with the morning crew, and then I think at about 10 o'clock I was training with Dustin. I was boxing, and then 3 or 4 nights a week I'd do jiu-jitsu at night. And then I wasn't working.
That's kind of like Tyler Galbraith a little bit. That's
Yeah.
kind of how it is. So it's the same kind of setup, yeah.
And then that's when I was in there. You knew I was in there all day, and you're like, "What the hell are you doing with your life, man? What are you gonna do with yourself?" I'm like 20 years old, and I'm like, "This dude right here." But it was a reality check for me because I knew he was right, and I didn't know what I wanted to do at that point.
Yeah.
But it really was kind of like the turning point for me. Like, I'm gonna be a lazy piece of shit, or I'm gonna figure out what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life and make something out of myself.
Well, you obviously weren't lazy, Jake. That's the thing, right?
Right.
And so it was like you just didn't. And plus, you were so young. And when I said that to Jake, I was thinking because I was like, this guy's going to be doing what we do. He's going to be a trainer, bodybuilder, whatever. Because I saw so much potential. I didn't realize I was like saying something that would be just overall like kind of a check. I do that kind of random shit all the time. So I always feel like that's awesome that in that moment that made that much sense to you. But that's why I think I try to like kind of jab at people when I know they could be like a lot better than they are because I can see it.
And a lot of people need that accountability.
Yeah.
Just like a couple months ago, we get the gym moved and everything. You're like, "You gonna start training with us again?" I'm like, "Yeah, I might." And you said, "Well, it'll take me 2 weeks to set up." And then Sunday, you're like, "Hey, 4 a.m. tomorrow, we're good."
We're ready
Got
to
the high
rock.
school kids in. I'm like, "Shit." I told my wife, I said, "Corey just told me I need to be there."
Can't really
tomorrow."
get away with this one.
I hadn't been training very much. Not having a crew of people obviously
Sure.
changes everything. So I was pretty much doing it on my own. And I told her, she's like, "You need to start training for at least 2 weeks before you go back." I was like, "You're right, but I'm waking up at 3 o'clock tomorrow."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not my style.
No, I was really excited to add you back because I knew you had been going to West Side for a while. On Sundays, you're a really
Yeah, a
good
couple
bench.
years.
Yeah, a couple years. And that when you could add the other lifts and to offset all the business, which we're going to get to. So it's like, all right, so you guys have now some background, right, between me and Jake. We just went and toured R&R Pipeline, which is Jake's business that he was working inside of, but now he's owner of. So it's like, what questions do you guys have anything like along the way to kind of hit him with now?
Well, there's several questions, but kind of going back to the turning point for you when you were 20. like, what were some of the concrete steps that you took, or like, what are some of the things you did, if you do remember, right away to kind of push the ball in the right direction?
How good of a podcaster is Danny becoming right now?
Really leads you into the question. Great job, Danny.
Sorry,
Wow.
Jake.
So
Go ahead.
the main thing that I did was realize that if I outworked everyone, I would progress past everyone. If I did not put my head down 6 days a week, work, if I outworked everyone, I knew there'd be a reward at the end. So that's what I did. I went to work, lived in a hotel room for, 5 nights, 6 days.
Because you were traveling
Every
around.
week,
right?
all over Southern Ohio. So I was always gone, always living on the road, but I just wanted to outwork everybody.
Give
And
us an idea
I
of the type of
progressed.
work you were doing at that time, Jacob.
So at that point, plumbing houses, doing, putting pipes in the ground, kind of operating some equipment, but mostly labor at that point.
Okay.
Within probably 2 years, I was running crews, 20, 30 people, overseeing, some of the biggest projects we had. So it was a very, very short amount of time that it took for me to excel past most. And kind of like what I mentioned earlier, I worked harder than everyone, but much smarter. So it was more about the efficiency with the hard work that, what I could do in 8 hours, someone did in 12. So I had extra 4 hours to excel that much more. And that helped a ton.
Fuck with
That
that.
evolution's super important to understand.
Well, and think about how fast the switch was. You're talking a 2 or 3 year period of time. He goes from kind of not really running the right track and doing the labor to then running guys that are, basically like way older than you.
Much older.
Yeah.
Yeah. Been doing it longer than I've been alive.
Yeah, that's
I got
fucking
told that all
crazy.
the time.
Yeah.
Where did like the efficiency mindset like start? Like where does that come from? Is this something natural to you, or?
To some degree, but a lot of it was seeing the old school guys. And Corey, you probably ran this into mine, where it's a bunch of cowboys, go break your back every day. It wasn't like, well, I can have this person do that because he's better at it. It was, I never seen that.
It's basically just put your head down and work.
So I would work under people, and what certain people were lined out to do didn't make any sense. So for me, I'm looking at it, I'm like, why the hell would you do that? Why wouldn't you have this guy do this, that guy do that? And then I
It just didn't make sense to you,
it didn't make sense,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it wasn't efficient. So I basically got really good at managing people. Knowing what their strengths and weaknesses were, and then putting them, in the position that they're strongest at, and it just excelled. And we really didn't have a project manager structure, but after a while, I was running jobs, and normally your foreman would be like the top dog on a crew, and that guy still works on the ground every day, and I was more like the organizer of the people. So I put people in the best position to be efficient, and it took everything to the next level.
It's like management 101.
So how old were you doing this?
Probably 22.
That's
And
legit.
how was that tough? Because obviously the guys you're working with are probably much older than you. Was there ever like any heat, or what was the
all
mentality
the
during
time.
that?
Yeah,
you
I mean,
know?
it's a pipeline.
Helps you're not a fucking small dude, right?
Yeah.
I
Oh,
mean,
yeah,
like
yeah.
that, like fuck this
Yeah.
young dude. But then
If
they're
you're
like,
listening,
he's
Jake is not
225.
small.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a lot of guys respected it because they knew like what I was doing was working. The proof is in the picture. I mean,
Yeah.
they're seeing the efficiency.
How can you argue with that if he's right?
Right.
Essentially,
Like facts,
no matter
yeah.
how old you are.
But that's not to say that there wasn't some fist fights and dudes getting thrown up against trucks. I mean,
That happens.
We're pipeliners, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It happens. Yeah,
I fucking
it's
love
pretty
it.
common.
So once again, that's a crazy turnaround of a life trajectory in a 2-year period because of the mentality change. It's fucking sick. Trayvon.
So, like during that change, was there any like personal development that you were going through?
A lot of it. So
as
that,
in like podcasts or books that you're reading?
yeah,
and
that
stuff
was
like
a lot of it. Really, like the Lunge and Learn program. I always trained a ton. Even when I was working 12, 15 hours, I trained every morning, sometimes at night too. But the personal development was what kind of took me to that next level. Like the Henry Ford stuff I was talking
Yeah.
about earlier, delegating, having the smartest person in the room in every department. Really learning about other ways to be efficient is what kind of helped me along that. Listening to different podcasts, different books, reading different books, every night, because I'm in a hotel room by myself. Every night I'm, reading a book, I'm listening to something, I'm getting better. And as I did that, building the people around me and the personal development took it to the next level.
I think that shit just makes you like when you're making these decisions, they just seem more clear because you're just you're sharper when you're dialed to that every day. That I think it makes and honestly, like in that profession, that's probably not something like
It's not common.
No,
not
at all.
It's kind of like a diet. If you're good on a diet for 4 or 5 days and then, blow it on the weekends, Monday you're starting back over. It's the
Yeah.
same with personal development. If you're only doing it, 2-3 days a week, and then laying off of for a couple of days,
Yeah.
you're kind of going back to where you left off at or where you started at. So it's easy to get out of that
But
you
if it's
keep
every
that
day,
consistency.
Yeah,
All back
man.
to the consistency.
I've never heard anybody say it that way with the personal
Yeah.
development. Like, I like that a lot.
That's
good.
true.
Clip that, Kyle.
Yeah, you definitely say that.
I mean, I'm bad about it too. If I'm not listening, like I just did it a couple months ago. Instead of really listening to music on the radio, I'm always podcast.
Yeah.
Always something whenever I'm in my truck.
So it's funny is just yesterday I had to go downtown for something, and I was thinking I don't really listen to music in the car very often, and I wasn't listening to anything else. I was actually just thinking, and it's like 40 minutes downtown or whatever, and I didn't listen to anything back or forth. I just thought that was, and that was this is because I don't really drive that far anymore, but it was like it was interesting that like I was looking forward to just having my own thoughts,
So
which is the opposite of how most people are, I
It's-
think.
It's really weird because now, since I don't have to drive to the gym anymore,
Yeah.
I find myself not listening to music at all, and I'm always thinking with my thoughts during that
Yes.
time.
Interesting,
It's really
right?
weird. Yeah.
Well, Trey, and you drive from downtown
Yeah,
every
I
day.
always it depends. Like sometimes I don't put anything on, and then
Yeah.
sometimes I put like a podcast on or something like that. But it is interesting though, like when you don't listen to anything and you're left with your thoughts, and it's always like refreshing though.
It is.
But I think it's
Yeah.
like interesting though because a lot of people they want the music or like a podcast.
They want
or-
distracted.
They want
Yeah.
something as a distraction because they don't want to like be like scared
Be
of their
present.
thoughts.
Yeah,
be
being
present.
They're just
I
like
mean, right.
scared of themselves.
So
almost.
yesterday I had like a real eerie kind of drive back and forth downtown, and I realized I was like, I never listened to anything either way.
Yeah, that's the best though. Like
Yeah.
after you go half an hour and then you realize like, oh
right.
shit,
And-
I never put anything on.
And I think it was because I just had the volume turned down. I don't think I really intentionally did it, but it
Yeah.
started
No.
that way. I mean, that shit rides smooth though too. So I was like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that might be part of it, but just saying. All right.
So you mentioned Henry Ford. Like, what was it about Henry Ford that locked you onto you?
So-
Was it like a book or what
it
was
was
it?
the Legacy movie. Corey sent me this, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, and it was a Legacy movie for Think and Grow Rich, I think.
Yeah, yep.
And it was Henry Ford on there, basically had a scenario where the Washington Post called him an uneducated coward or something
Yeah.
of that sort. He sued him for like $1 million and ended up going to court, and the guy asked him
It was messing up some of his business deals, right?
Yeah, it was hurting him. So, the guy was asking a bunch of questions that were out of the textbook, and he's like, I can't answer all these questions. I don't know. But he's like, I guarantee you I can pick up the phone and call someone, and they're going to know everything. So it was kind of that mindset of, the team around you and, accounting, all the different departments in a business. I don't want to be the best accountant. I want to have the best accountant. I don't want to go to Harvard. I want to hire someone who went to Harvard. And that mindset was huge for me. I watched that probably 10 times.
It's
Once
like
I
you
seen
can hit
that
the
one-
button and find
I
the
think
person.
understanding that you're not going to be the best, it's impossible. You have to be, and that I learned that so much by MP because I just realized we did not have the talent that we needed to scale what you're scaling right now. And I knew where my talent lied, and I got better at these other areas, but it's impossible to be great at all that stuff. You can't do it.
Right.
You're not built that way.
Why focus on a weakness?
Correct.
Why
somebody else, it's
when-
their strength.
Yeah, hire someone that's already
Yeah.
good at it.
Yeah.
That's kind of been my mindset ever since.
Mm-hmm.
And then, our evolution of the business, we built a team around us. It's amazing.
Yeah.
They're the best. I mean, can't say enough good about our team.
So, all right. So now we're at the point where you're working and you're climbing up in the business, and then you're starting to think, could I buy or run this one day? Right. When did that transition come to the confidence? What age and block of time, or, maybe you were taking on this much more responsibility and you're like, motherfucker, I can run this shit.
So kind of go back to,
please.
16 years old, got a job. A close mentor of mine hired me, said, hey, I got a job here. You can come here basically as an intern in the summer, after school, whatever. Started at 18 full time. Then, as I said earlier, worked my way up. And then talking to him one day, this was my superhero. Like, I looked up to this guy and I said, dude, we can buy this company. I said, the owner right now is on his way out. He has health issues. He's not going to be here much longer. I said, let's team up and buy this thing. We'll buy it. Whenever you're ready to retire, you retire, and let's go. And it was just that mindset of, I'm progressing so fast through this company. I was always a young guy, always. Still kind of am,
Sure.
even now. But always progressing so fast, So that was the plan. I was going to work my way into the office. We were going to buy this company. And I told myself about 23 or 24, by the time I'm 30, I'll own this company. Which happened, but just in a lot different way than I thought.
Yeah.
So 26, went in as operations manager, so overseeing, 80 some people. running the whole operation.
When you had done every job, and that's one thing I
Started with a
want people
shovel.
to understand,
Started with a
because
shovel.
me and Cole talked about this on the way over. Like, he would have to, when you see your business, you would have to understand personally every aspect of it, which you do.
Which I
That's
know what guys are
massive.
going through.
Yeah.
I know the challenges. Wintertime, I understand how, all
Yeah.
the challenges there with the weather, all the different things. I've seen it because I've done it. I did it, 8 years, 9 years.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
So you're at the operations point at
So
26.
operations, and then, I was basically told by my mentor, like, hey, I'm too old, I'm out. Things fell apart with that. And then probably about that time, 25 or so, Dr. Serrano, got introduced to him, went to him, and then I kind of told him my story. And every time I, go see him, he'd say, you buy that company yet? You buy that company yet? Kept saying, no. He's like, when are you going to buy it? And I'm sitting here thinking, like, I just don't write a check and, get this thing. Like, it's a pretty big deal. So he's like, it was April 12th of 2018. He said, hey, I'll write you a check for X amount of dollars as a down payment for this thing. Bring me a business plan. Go make it happen. And that was a green light. It was like
Serrano did that.
Serrano.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Hey, I had no idea about that.
So was Serrano an investor in the business?
No.
Oh,
no,
but he said he would.
said that, yeah. So at that
Ah.
point, so back up, I guess, a couple years
Yeah,
before that. So I worked with a guy who's my business partner now in the field, and we were complete opposite people. But we were always challenging each other to work harder. He left, went to the military, came back 4 years later, about the same time frame, 25, 26 years old. He came back, and I was running a job, and he drove by and seen us. So he stopped in, talked to me. I said, dude, you got to come back. And he's like, there's no way in hell I'm coming back. Going out west.
You're talking about Cody?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Going out west, I'm doing all this. I was like, dude, you got to come back. I was like, our safety director is getting ready to retire. I'm forcing my way into the office. I think we can buy this thing in a few years. So he packed up his family from the state of Washington, 28 hours, 3 kids, 2 dogs, and all the shit he had.
Jeez.
Drove back here.
Put the chips in.
2 weeks later.
Damn.
And that was it. And
Wow.
we've been riding ever since.
That is fucking
Dude,
crazy.
talk about that pitch more. Like, you convince someone to.
I just told him, here's the facts. Here's what's going on. And this is what we're going to do.
It's pretty convincing.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
You knew that
Yeah.
he'd be that. I mean, he hadn't been around in a while. To think that you'd bring him in right back as a partner, that's pretty interesting. So you already knew the kind of guy he was.
Yeah, we had already established that. And
Got it.
I mean, we roomed together out of town.
Okay.
We pretty much lived together for a few years before. I knew no matter what it took, he would be there.
Got it.
Embrace the suck, military background.
He's all in.
So he's all in no matter what. 18, 20 hours a day, let's do it. Make it 3 days in a row, let's do it.
Don't
Whatever
even
we gotta
think
do,
about it.
Not even a hesitation. So having that person there, because the mentor of mine that I wanted to go in business with wasn't that person.
Got it.
That had already left. So having Cody come in with that same mentality is like, dude, that's
And
right.
similar age, right?
Yeah, similar age.
Yeah. Wow. Now, the other thing I think, now we're hearing all this work, these stories, but I think the art of the deal is one of the biggest things that people miss, right? And the fact that you're willing to do however long it takes, whatever. And we'll talk about this because I think this is the thing that's going to blow people's minds, that like you're buying a multi-million-dollar company and your net worth at the time was
$37,000
Amazing.
just on some equity in my house.
So when people look at that on paper, they go,
No way in hell.
fucking
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. We had about 12 banks. Ain't gonna happen. Told us that. Right
But
to
the
our face.
structure of the contracts and the assets and, the possibilities and the restrictions and 402 days you mentioned, right? That it took to get the deal done, and some really quality people in the room, your lawyer, and the perseverance of the no's and it's like, that's exactly what it takes to pull off some shit like this. That now is opened up a zero cap, not like the one you put on Instagram, but like the real one,
Right.
you know what I mean? Of availability of revenue and opportunity, and maybe sell this thing one day, whatever it is. So it's like, talk about embarking on okay, most people don't think this is even gonna happen.
Right. So that day, April 12th.
And Rick probably didn't believe it when you told him.
Oh, hell no.
Like
not
the guy
even
who-
close.
yeah.
Not even close. April 12th, 2018, Serrano gave me that speech.
Yeah.
Said, I'll write a check for X amount of dollars, right? Which was a large sum of money.
Sure.
He was probably completely full of shit, and he didn't even remember that until I told him about it after.
I was gonna mention that,
Yeah.
but we'll let that ride.
Right,
That's
yeah.
part of the story. Doesn't
So-
matter. It helped.
No, it helped. So I left Serrano's. I called Cody. I said, talk to Rick. We're doing lunch. We're going now. Right now.
Fuck yeah.
All gas, no brakes. Nothing's stopping us. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
We met him and told him, Rick, we're going to buy R&R Pipeline. And he said, that's cute. You know, okay. Yeah,
That's
right?
cute, little guys.
Yeah. He said, I'll tell you what. He's like, I'm going to put it on the market. I got to get all this ready anyways. I'll give you the opportunity. You structure all the evaluations, all the different things that go in that deal, and I'll give you a shot if you can make it happen. So that's April.
That's all you need, though.
That was it.
Yeah.
We went to his house for the High State Michigan game, so the end of November, and we already had a bank locked in for the deal. His wife didn't even know the company was going to be sold.
Well, because he really didn't believe you.
He
That's
didn't believe
why.
it. We had a letter from the bank, a commitment
Yeah.
from the bank, and our original closing date was December 31st. So a month after this, the business is getting ready to sell, and his wife was like, "What are you talking about, deal?" Yeah. And I'm like, "We're going to buy the company," and she kind of looks at me and starts laughing, and I said, "I'm here to tell you, you better find something for him to do because come January 1st, he's going to be unemployed." And I walked away. That's all I said. I walked away.
Jeez,
That's
epic.
fucking amazing.
Right.
That's epic.
So
Yeah.
a week later, the bank that was going to support us dropped us. We had to start from square one. So we went through a gauntlet, 10, 12 different banks coming in, 2 30-year-olds, no net worth. We're worthless to these people.
Yeah.
And the bank.
That's the worst fucking feeling, by the way.
Yeah. Because you know that you can make it happen. You just got to have one person believe in you. And that
Especially
was
when you know deep, right? And you can't make them know it. And most bankers aren't entrepreneurs, so they don't really get it. They're really pushing
and
pencils.
they have a box.
Exactly.
They have a box. And we were so far.
You ain't
outside
checking none of the boxes.
No, so far outside of that box, it wasn't even funny. And our attorney made a call to one bank and said, "Hey, got a couple guys."
How'd you meet Jim?
So my
The attorney.
father-in-law's boss
Okay.
owns a company in Columbus. He was speaking at an event, and I stayed after to talk to him, introduce him. He had bought a company, third generation, but he bought a company off his dad. So I'm like, man, I got to find out what this dude did, the structure, because I researched him. I knew his backstory before I talked to him, and I was like, where do you start?
So you searched him out.
I was at
fuck
the
yeah.
event. And
Yeah,
I waited
yeah.
like an hour after he got done talking, and I went up and talked to him, introduced myself, and he put me through a gauntlet of tests. Email me at 2:37 a.m. on this Thursday. I'll let you know what my schedule looks like. Oh, I'm going to Mexico for a month. I'll call you, next week. So he put me through a test. I checked every box, and then sat down with him for probably 20 minutes. Changed my life forever. I learned about evaluating a company, EBITDA, all the different things that go into the multiples, what you need to know.
Sure.
And it completely changed everything. And then he ended up introducing us to Jim.
Got it.
Yeah.
So you met that guy that introduced you to the guy that could help put the deal together.
So this guy's dad and Jim were close. So he connected the
that
dots.
extra, but see, that's the thing is that extra, like, I need to know that guy.
I waited an hour to sit there and talk to him until he was done. Everybody was gone except for 2 people, him and the person he was talking to, and I waited till they were done to talk to him. Because I just knew in my gut, he was the main speaker, right, of this event, big. It was a pretty big event. So I was like, I know I got to talk to this dude. I don't know why.
But think if you don't. Because
Never know.
Jim's a major part of how that got put
Huge
together.
part. Miss
fuck.
every shot you don't take.
Yeah,
It's
facts.
true. So, and I was always kind of that dude. I wanted to always, been to different like companies, going to seminars or whatever. And the top dog in that room, I'm going to introduce myself to, just because I want to.
Yeah, I always feel like I need to be
just wanna-
friends with all those guys.
Absolutely. Yeah. Go after the top dog. Shake his hand.
Yeah.
So
Fucking love it. What do you think, Danny?
Yeah, so it goes back to something you said back at your place when I asked you if you got stressed. You say you don't get stressed, you get pissed. Obviously you probably went through the whole spectrum of emotions during the gauntlet of going through the banks and the whether you had stress at home or whatever's going on. Like, how did you manage that?
So Corey can relate to this. I had a bad day, right? And it wasn't a normal bad day. So my best friend got diagnosed with cancer probably 6 or 7 years ago. Had beat it. Everything was good. Sitting down, having a beer with him because it came back. He's telling a group of people, cancer's back. Got to get surgery done on my liver. 50-50 shot. Don't know what's going on. Get a phone call from my wife. Her brother passed away in a car accident. 21 years old. Gone. That was it. That opened my eyes for 2 weeks where I was there. So raw, so emotional. That was my bad day. Every day after that has been a good day. So it doesn't get any worse than what that feeling was like. So to be stressed about business doesn't happen. There's no emotional stress about business. I get wore out. I get pissed. But as far as stress, I'm blessed to do what I do. I'm lucky to be here, and I'm happy every day that I can go do what I do. So, I mean, that was the real
That perspective.
that turning point.
Completely. Yeah, that's amazing.
And that just changed everything. Like, best friend's got cancer, and he's still fighting to this day, still kicking ass. You know, brother-in-law's gone. Every day, if I don't wake up, if I don't do better, then I'm wasting talent. I'm wasting opportunity. I can't let that happen.
Dude,
So that changed everything. So that was that moment of, holy shit.
Yeah.
My wife was 6 months pregnant.
Yeah, on top
with
of
her
it, you got a
firstborn.
baby coming.
Yeah, baby coming. And, you know, and then we started buying the business right after that happened.
I know when I was doing a lot of heavy MP stuff is when AG was, you know, and then Matt, she was pregnant with Matt, and it's like it compounds everything once you start adding kids
so
to
much
it
more,
too.
yeah.
Because you're like, damn, now I got to pay, and like I'm in charge of these people now too. Like I gotta get my shit together. It scares your ass to fucking really work and believe.
Yeah.
I like that the way that you're processing it though, because that's the way I process it too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say it a little different, but it's the same, you know. And I think it is. I'll get pissed, and because I've always processed stress relatively well, but I've always processed it better since those occurrences like that in my life too, for sure.
I mean, some things that, you know, Cody and I go through on a daily basis, people, I mean, would stroke out by 11 o'clock in the morning.
Facts.
Couldn't handle it.
I've had that conversation with some guys that are unaware of that needed to be aware. And I would say, motherfucker, what it took me to get here, you'd lay awake at night for a fucking week, and then you'd fucking crack out. So this is why this is so important to me.
Well, and I can't tell you how many
yeah,
times-
yeah.
I like that.
That's
Yeah.
a fucking truth. Like and I know it to the deepest part of my heart. Because when I'm saying it, and I can dig in their eyes, and then they know I'm being fucking, I can feel it on them.
I cannot tell you how many times we've had like management supervisor, someone that, you know, inside the office that understands the situation, tell us they're stressed. I'm like, you're stressed? I'm not even stressed about this situation. You're stressed about it? Like, how does that even happen? You know?
Yeah.
Doesn't happen. So
No, I think that I try not to really like go there very often, but when I have to, I try to make it really felt, because I think no one can really understand like going through unless you actually live it, right? Yeah. But I think when you can like get that emotion out to let it know like what it really took to get in this spot, and that's why you got to kind of take it serious. Like that's when it kind of gets me riled up sometimes.
I mean, come home every night for 3-4 months, like, babe, this might not happen. We might be living in a cardboard box. Lose everything. So what?
Yeah. I told Ray to cash out her 401. It was only like 15 grand. I had to pay the taxes. And then my house payment was like $1,300. So I had it covered for like 10, 11 months. Yeah. I was like, we got to go like this. She's like, that's my retirement. I'm like, well, shit, hope I can make a different retirement.
Yeah.
Well, that was interesting when you were talking about when you like could see like rock bottom, like when you were talking about that earlier. That was really interesting too, because I feel like not a lot of people see that, and like you had nothing to lose.
Right, and that was the thing. You know, for 6 or 7 years, I'm living in a hotel. I'm grinding. I'm trying to save money. I'm trying to do all this. I've been on the floor for so long. There is no ceiling. That's how I look at my life now. I've seen that floor. I've laid on it for years. Mm-hmm. You know, there is no ceiling to success now.
It's like no fear.
I
none.
think that's
none.
actual like the way that I process calculated risk, because if I'm okay with what the worst case scenario is, I ain't got nothing to lose. So when I would literally my first gym, when I was at Ohio State, I was talking about this. Like, if it didn't work, I had only been out of the coal mine for like maybe 2 years. I was just gonna go back. I was gonna go back home, pissed, and work and pay the lease. That's literally how I processed. And I was like, I don't want to fucking do that, so I better make this shit work.
And I didn't even process it. I had no plan B with this business deal. Yeah. I told my wife it might not happen, but I knew 100% it was going to happen. There's never really a doubt in my mind. Now, the roller coaster to that point, you know, I questioned it sometimes, like, holy shit, I can't believe this just happened. But throughout the process, I never doubted. I didn't have a plan B. If it didn't work out, I'd figure it out. But did not have a plan B because I knew it was going to happen at the end of the day.
What really gave you the confidence that when you got the reins, Jake, that you would know what to do with it?
So I knew the company from the ground up.
Yeah.
I knew what the guy running the shovel was like.
Back to the efficiency shit.
Yeah, back to the efficiency, and I knew. And it was kind of that, you know, building self-worth or confidence, whatever you want to call it, over years.
You played every role in the company.
Pretty much everything. And so I knew it, and I just believed in myself. Because at the end of the day, if it didn't work out, I lose everything, file bankruptcy, go get another job. Who gives a shit? If that's the worst that happens for what I'm going to build now,
Yeah.
I'll take that all day. I'll take that risk every day. So it was just a thing of, I know I can do this, but it went back to the Henry Ford model. I got to get the people around me.
Yeah.
Because I'm a pipe guy. I'm a pipeliner. I'm not that smart. I'm not a business guy. Now it's a little different, but
for sure.
At that point, like, I understood how to put pipe in the ground efficiently.
That's some Tim Ferriss shit.
Yeah. I mean, I just think you're just a big, bad, scary motherfucker, Jake. I don't know. Yeah. Sorry, that just came to mind.
Did it? Yeah. Was it the arm pump?
Yeah. Just that's what I love. But that's what I love about our group in the morning, man. Like, having you back in the 4 a.m. group, and then the guys seeing what you're accomplishing, to see how you are under the bar. And struggling to get here sometimes because of all these crazy business things, because you're still up from the night before. Like, that's part of what I want that group to be about, but still having that blue collar background too. That's why you being representing in the morning, I think is really important.
Yeah.
So.
And like I said, I know what that floor looks like. I know what it's like for $8 an hour to run a shovel until you about puke every night. I've been there, done that. I did it for years. So I understand, the grit, the grime, which now brings back, my appreciation for my opportunity even more, because I know, this dude's starting at X amount of dollars. I know what he's going through. I've been there. I just did it a lot earlier than he did, and a lot better. That's why I'm here. I mean, at the end of the day, that's it.
It's just a fact.
Yeah.
The thing that where a lot of people, and I think it all comes back to confidence, but you just never sound scared in this entire process.
So part of that bad day was 2 weeks of the most raw emotion I've ever had in my life.
Sure.
I thought that I understood emotion before that, and I didn't. By far,
Severe
hands down,
death
the
like
worst,
that changes.
the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
So after that, what is there to be scared of? I lose everything. Who gives a shit? Take my house.
Yeah.
I'll buy another one.
There's a skill that's there anyway, and you know what you're willing to go through, and that's I think how I processed a lot of that.
And part of, I mean, it's a thing for me that sometimes is a negative. Where Cody's like, hey, we need to think this through a little bit more.
Yeah, they always need that guy too.
Yeah. So I have people in my life that are going to balance me out, but I will jump in to a hole, not knowing what's at the bottom if there is a bottom, and I'm not scared of it. It doesn't matter what's there. I will figure it out when I hit. That's just it.
It's kind of like when Ramos told me, "You're not going to die from this squat, so why not fucking unrack it?" And I was thinking,
you're like,
you're right.
Yeah,
you're right.
Like, probably not.
I might not.
Ramos lingo. So good.
Yeah.
Let's go to training for a second, and then we'll come back to what's going on now. Talk about your experience at Westside.
I loved it.
Because I think everybody and their brother, most of us had, Cole's been there. You guys haven't been there before.
I met
Cole,
Travis Mash there.
That's right. Cole went there with me once before. Obviously, you went there a bunch. Like, talk about the mentality of being with the Sunday guys and just being around some of those legends.
So it took me probably a year of Ramos calling me a pussy before I finally went to Westside. I'm like, dude, I will get buried at this place. Like, not going to happen. And then I think me and you went the first couple times. You went for a few weeks, and then them guys are really like the 4 a.m. crew.
Yeah.
That group was some of the older dudes. Not much of them, many of them were competing anymore, but some strong dudes.
Kind of like a retired old guy crew of really strong motherfuckers.
Yeah, you get some random 65-year-old dude walking in with big ass forearms, and he's benching 500 pounds like it's nothing. You're like, holy shit.
Just like
Yeah.
Crazy strength. So I learned a ton. I mean, my bench went up from 355 to 425 in probably 6 months. Just learning the technique. It was insane.
Yeah.
Just the technique of them guys.
And just the overload stuff is crazy there.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
The bands and the variations were just insane.
Well, and learning from George Halbert, who's legitimately one of the best bench pressers that has ever walked,
Right.
being the guy who runs the crew. It's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely whenever you go there, it's a wealth of fucking knowledge.
It is.
And they have great stories, and the intimidation factor there is fucking real.
It is. And this, you watch Westside versus the World, you see all this craziness. Like, it wasn't there, but there was a couple times where you're like, this dude just dropped 400 pounds, and Tony's telling him to get his keys and get the fuck out because he dropped the weight on his chest. And it's like, this is different breed.
Oh,
like,
it's definitely a different breed.
Yeah.
Get out.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen dudes drop 800 pounds on their chest, slips out of their hands, like some crazy stuff. So it was, you see, and I was actually spotting, it was my side, and the dude drops 800, it falls out of his hand, suicide grip.
Which is, by the way, why they call it the suicide grip.
Literally.
But even if he had his thumb around, I ain't
It wouldn't
stopping
matter.
800.
Yeah. And I seen that, and I thought, these guys.
He
are
literally
crazy.
could have died.
Yeah, these guys are crazy. And he bounced up and did another set after that. I'm like, cool.
That was that coal miner dude, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the dude from back
Yeah,
home. Yeah,
yeah.
that's funny. Wow.
Yeah, I seen that one. Man, these guys are absolutely.
But
nuts.
you're drawn to it because you're insane like the rest of us, right? So you locked on.
I'm
We went
always-
there a couple times
yeah.
and you just stayed.
I always enjoy being uncomfortable. No matter what I'm doing, if I'm uncomfortable with something,
Sure.
I'm going to try it. I love it. I've always been that way. I've always tried things that absolutely sucked at or hated. It's like my golf game.
Yeah.
Okay, I hate golf. I love golf, but
The first time we went golfing, it was amazing.
Oh yeah,
Jake
a couple of years ago.
hit it up off of like a shed or something, and it bounced and went behind where we started.
It was so bad.
It was fucking amazing. He got a lot better.
A lot better.
He's got a lot
couple
better.
Years, yeah.
We just played with Jimmy Burrow the other day. It was
Yeah.
amazing.
We had a good
Jake
time.
set
That
it
was
up. It
great.
was so
Yeah.
cool to hear about stories from Joe and about Joey and stuff.
Yeah,
It was really
awesome.
cool.
Yeah.
Fucking come a long ways,
was,
brother.
We need to go to the links for
Oh
sure.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
it was really good. All right, so talk about now. Now is it shared CEO? Is that how you guys look at it, or is it do you guys even have titles like you and Cody? How do you
owner
guys?
president,
Owner
both
president.
way, yeah,
Okay,
whatever.
so I
That's
mean, you guys are both running
yeah,
it basically.
yeah.
So it's like now on a day to day, you're scaling a multi-million-dollar business. The deal got done. It's you guys, young, fucking studs, growing. And to give people a concept, in your world, you said a year. There's 400 million plus in infrastructure that has to happen just in Ohio, right?
And with one company.
with
out of
one
four,
company.
Yeah, that we work
Out
with.
of four.
Out of four. So I mean,
So it's like $1 billion of work.
The
Let that
amount,
sink in.
the
Holy
amount-
shit.
The amount of possibility there is
Absurd.
unbelievable. Yeah.
So being able to scale it in the right way, which we
Mm-hmm.
talked about a lot of times, to have the quality and management and all that is really what you're diving in on all the time, because the work is either outlined or it's available.
Right. So one thing that a lot of other companies have done in the past is grow without having the management to support it. And we've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah, I
mean,
saw
you've seen it. We've seen it from other companies, and some of the guys that are on our team now went through it. So go through 3 years of hell. That's 3 times the revenue, 3 times the personnel, with the same poor management system in place. They can't keep up with it. We had all them flaws too. The first 2 years of business, we pretty much fixed 30 years of incompetence, which we're getting there now.
Yeah,
We've
yeah.
almost got to figure it out, but we had to restaff, remanage, just rebuild.
Back to the efficiency.
Back to efficiency. We have about 8 or 9 people in our office now. After we closed, we were pretty much 4 running the whole thing, and that was everything. We got rid of everyone, started over, and realized we can scale this thing as much as we want, but we can't do it if we're not efficient.
Yeah.
Now, I'm 32 years old. I have time, so let's do it efficiently over time. 5 to 10% growth a year. That's it. Which we've already exceeded that just organically, but let's grow it methodically and not try to get too big.
Yeah. Do you tell yourself you have a lot of time, Jake? Do you have to remind yourself, because you seem like a gas pedal guy? So it's like, do you find yourself going fast and then go, hey, wait a second, do you have an internal check?
My wife,
Yeah.
she's
yeah.
my check. She'll say, hey, your kids are young, you're
Yeah.
young, you got a long time to do this.
It's true.
Which I want to win every day. I want to conquer the world every day.
Of course.
So part of that is good and part of that's bad. Where
That's a sickness.
Yeah, it is. I worked 18 hours today. I probably should sleep in tomorrow. Yeah. Yeah, probably a good idea, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, it is a sickness, but she checks me. I mean, she keeps me in line.
I think having that is really important because, I think the wheels, which you've had fall off many times,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I've had fall off many times, and you only got so many of those in you
Yeah, that's
until
it.
you break.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this year, she was worried about me a couple of times, like, hey, why don't you take a day off? You're going to have a heart attack. You're too young for that.
Yeah.
She was right.
But also, I always argue that it probably takes pushing yourself to do things like you're doing. It's just kind of what it is.
Sometimes
at times.
you
you can't avoid it.
Yeah. And she'll ask how she can help. I just tell her, just understand. Just
That's a good-
understand.
yeah.
That's all you can do is understand.
So what I tried to do a good job of is when I was in issues or had issues like that is like the days I knew she was right, I would let her be right. Meaning I wouldn't just say, no, I need to do 1,000 more emails or whatever it was. And then the days where I knew she wasn't right, I would let her know, hey, it's not today.
Yeah. And
I
that was this
have,
year.
Yeah, I have to get this done. Like this is like serious, serious shit. Like whatever else is happening doesn't matter.
That probably strikes a good balance.
Yeah, but I had to
Overall.
with myself. I had to have the internal balance to say like, she's right today. I don't need to be doing this extra shit. I need to be home, or I need to be taking time for myself.
And there are times where it can wait till tomorrow.
Yeah,
it's not going to be detrimental, but there are times where I have this deadline tomorrow. I'm going to be, it's 8:00 at night. It's due at 3:00 tomorrow. I'm going to be here till 3:00 tomorrow. I'm not going home. It just is what it is.
I think our relationship got better whenever I would not be when I would commit to knowing when she was right, not just saying I'm always go. And I think once I kind of figured that out, then when I told her, her support would switch from trying to pull me off the ledge of saying like, hey, you need to slow down, to like, okay, what do you need from me if it's really that serious? And that I think helped me a ton.
So, I mean, I can relate to that 100%.
Yeah, and that really, because they know what they kind of signed up for, but then it's like,
So it's funny because I told her, when I met her was right when I was doing that show that you were helping me with, so 2013.
Sure.
I'm cutting for a show, I'm eating tuna and green beans out of a can and out of a package every day in a hotel room 6 days a week. Yeah, yeah. So
amazing.
It was horrible. That's why I don't think I'll ever do a bodybuilding show again.
Yeah.
Because of that. Now, obviously, things have changed a lot. Diets and technique.
Yeah.
So I listen to Corey now. It's a lot better than it was then.
Yeah, for sure.
But
we've all evolved.
Oh, yeah. But that's when I met her. And I told her, I was like, I'm going to buy this company. Like, I'm kind of insane. I'm going to buy this company. This is what I'm going to do. If you're in, you're in. But just know this is what you're signing up for. Sure. So every once in a while, I'll have to tell her that. Like, this is what you signed up for. But she's my reality check all the time. Keeps me there.
It's necessary, Jake.
Especially with kids. I don't,
Yeah, it changes a lot.
My daughter, she's 4, just turned 4, and then I have 8-month-old daughter. I want to have 2 or 3 more kids, and I want to change the landscape of my last name for generations to come.
Oh yeah.
To kind of be that person that resets the last name and gives a guideline on success moving forward.
Well, and you're doing a lot of this what I love about with the age of the kids now is kind of like with AG and them too. Like they was real young when I was doing like the deal and doing all the heavy money raises and the real heavy stress stuff. So then like as they got a little bit older, I didn't have to miss any games. I wasn't traveling as much. I don't know. I got it done like in the times where it was the best time of their life to get it done because they didn't really know any better. When they start hitting, your daughter's getting there a little bit older, they start to realize, man, dad's like different today.
Right.
Like he's stressed about something. They don't really notice that stuff like when they're real young, so you're getting it done at the right times. And not to say you're not going to have more stress, obviously, but that stuff to where you're like, is it going to work? It works. It's working, right? That point where you're not sure if it's going to work or you're taking these crazy risks, that's when shit's like really fucking wild. And so like once I knew like it's going to work, I can manage the rest of the stuff. That's a tricky part. But when the kids are young, I think you got it done at the right time.
Definitely got it done at the right time. I mean, my daughter didn't know anything about the deal. It was done. She'll know the picture of us standing outside the building when we closed. Of course. Like later on, that'll be a staple for her to look back on and say, Daddy did this or did whatever. But right now, I take her to martial arts a couple nights a week, help teach class, help her out. That's our connection. That's very, very good time to have. We kind of get that father-daughter time. Brought her in here Sunday.
Yeah.
She's
running his squat videos.
She's videos of me front squat. And she was pissed when I didn't bring her to the gym this morning. That's amazing. We'll wait till this weekend.
That's funny.
That's all she talks about.
That's
so
amazing.
Building that bond now, and then as she gets older, get her introduced to business and common sense things with money that makes sense.
So good, man. Good.
One more thing to touch on was it was kind of sidestepping like when you guys were talking about time and like the value of your time and how you think about that just as like a overall principle, I guess, because there's a few things you said back at your place. Well, I mean, the one that stuck out was like I'm not going to step over the $100 bill to pick up the $1 bill. Like that one like stuck in my head. Right. Or like you're going to pay $20 to mow your lawn versus doing it yourself. Can you kind of talk about like where was that always like that for you? Or
so that's kind of been a shift for probably the last year where it was always, yes, man, we'll go do this, we'll go do that. We're trying to take care of everybody and almost like paying yourself first. We were taking care of everyone else, but we weren't taking care of ourselves first. You got 75 employees going and doing 15 jobs. 5 of them are low profit margin jobs. and there's another 5 available with a high profit margin, why step over that $100 bill to pick up that $1 bill?
Yeah.
So it really just dialed in kind of, I mean, common sense, you know, okay, these jobs are X amount of millions of dollars and this is X thousands of dollars. Let's move our resources to the ones that make the most sense. And it really just goes back to general efficiency is all it really was. And it was a huge shift for us because we always wanted to diversify, get in different realms and do all this, but we were being too small minded.
Yeah.
We were looking at doing the small things that, you know, a couple guys in a backhoe can go do for $10 an hour, where we can't operate that way. We're a larger scale than that. So we had to almost look at our value as a company and understand our worth and what it could provide.
Well, when you come to the office, you don't think it's a couple guys in a backhoe.
No.
You know what I mean? Like if you're taking a couple guys in a backhoe job, it would slow you down, I would think.
Yeah. And there's a lot of local people that are willing to go do that kind of work.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'll refer them to other people. And I'll tell people, like, look, if you want us to do it, you know, it'll be in about 3 months. I'm going to charge you 5 times what it should be because that's what's going to cost.
Yeah.
You want the quality, you're going to pay for it. That's just what it is.
Yeah.
And know your worth. I mean,
It's that mentality where them contractors just throw a big number out, and if somebody will pay it, sure, I'll do it.
it's not for sale, but can
Yeah,
be bought
yeah,
price.
Well, it's like counterintuitive at the same time because like people feel like bad saying no to something, or they feel like they're doing something wrong almost.
You know, I heard this, and one thing that resonated with me is just saying no can be a complete sentence. So someone asks you, "Hey, you want a slice of pizza?" "Nope, I'm good." You know,
It's shut
right?
down.
It's shut down. That's the conversation.
that's
so
it.
So
no
that-
is a full sentence.
That's one
Yeah.
thing that my old partner Brad said that was valuable. He said, "Gee, we're gonna have to start saying no more than yes. We're too big now."
Yep.
He said that you're a nice guy, and you want to, you know, you're a pleaser because I was for a really long time. He said, "But dude, we're way past that shit now. Like, everyone's got an opportunity for us because we're so big
Right.
and hot, and what the fuck's happening? Like, we have to say no more than yes." And it made a bunch of sense because I was struggling with trying to get everything going. It was like, yeah, this could be a great opportunity, but the timing or the money or it doesn't make sense.
Right.
So fucking no, it doesn't,
Right.
you know. And I think once I kind of locked onto that helped me a lot.
Well,
actually.
kind of going back, you know, any business that, you know, you have client base, you have main clients, you have main people that are going to provide you so much work. It's so much revenue guaranteed. And then you have a lot of outliers that are hit and miss, or, you know, you got to chase money, or we're not in that business. We're here to turn a profit. So we work for the companies that we have, and we'll entertain a little bit with other companies that we know, but we're not trying to outsource a lot right now that's not in our wheelhouse. We're going to get better at what we're good at and improve in that realm.
We're not. I like that. We're not in that business. We're turning money.
That's the one.
We're not in that business.
Well, it's like that
Motherfucker.
80-20 principle. Like
Yeah.
20% of your customers produce 80% of the
Yeah,
revenue.
facts.
So less headache for you too. Yeah.
And really what we're trying to do is, you know, 100% of our customers or 100% of the money. Like, we're not looking at all these different realms where we got these 4 companies that we work for right now. That's everything. We put all of it into that, and we grow in that realm. We're already set up for it. That's what we do. It's our structure. We
And
continue
those
to grow
companies are
within our structure.
massive. Why not?
Massive.
It's not like you're gonna like hit the bottom or whatever.
No,
Or hit the
and
top.
there's every year for probably the last 6 or 7 years, they said we got a 20-year outlook, and it's every year, 20 years. Here's our budget increase. You know,
Yeah, because infrastructure doesn't go away.
it's not going away.
Yeah.
And once we get done with the current program we're on now, there's going to be another one.
Yeah, it's not going to go
No.
anywhere. As long as you can have guys on the site to put pipe in the ground,
That's it.
it's going to be there.
Yeah,
As long as there's pipe.
as long as there's pipe. As long as you get plastic
As long as I
bottles.
get plastic
Yeah.
bottles for the product, we're going to be
Yeah.
good. That's one thing we had in common recently. We were able to talk about in the
Supply
morning.
chain.
Supply
Oh,
chain, I
God.
can't get plastic.
Yeah.
And you looked at me and go, dude, I hope we can just keep getting
Yeah.
pipe.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That's a real concern, though.
No.
I mean, it's real. Shut down a
Fuck.
business real quick.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not even something you would even think about going into business, which is one of the curveballs that is
Right.
a real thought right now.
Right.
It's wild. Trey, got anything else, buddy? I'm
Um,
thinking.
I mean, I'm more curious on like where like the root of like the insanity kind of comes from.
Yeah.
I don't really know, to be honest with you. So, like I said earlier, and maybe this was my perception of myself. I grew up, you know, I always thought kind of lazy. I mean, I worked my ass off, but from what I look at now, I look back at myself like lazy. Grew up heavy, fat.
There's part of it
It
probably.
was part of it. So, I mean, I'm 14 years old. I'm starting diets. I'm dieting, you know, at school. I'm going to the gym in the morning after school to get in extra work because I don't want to be that fat kid anymore. So I think that was kind of the base of it, where I was always kind of insane. Wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, go train before school. That sounds insane, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was doing.
Especially when you're in high school
Right.
or,
The only difference was most people were going to bed at 9. I was drinking beer till midnight. So, it was counterproductive.
You really had both worlds going on.
Yeah. So I had that cowboy and angel both, all the time.
There it is.
So,
So you think that's where you think when having some success and building confidence there kind of lit it up because you were able to kind of get past that?
I think so. And,
Yeah.
having the fitness room was always like a release for me outside of the pipeline world.
Anybody else in your family lift weights?
No.
Interesting.
No,
So you're the first one.
Pretty much the first one,
Okay.
yeah.
Just wondering.
And it was kind of looked down as I'm growing up. It wasn't like, if you got enough energy to lift weights, you're not working hard enough. That's how it was perceived, with people in my family. And then I just didn't care about it. I truly don't care about other people's opinion. I truly don't. I'll respect, if I'm willing to ask for your advice, I'll respect your opinion. Outside of that, I got nothing for you. I'm not trying to keep up with the Joneses. I don't give a shit what people think about me.
Yeah.
And I think I was part of it. I probably did at a young age. And then it just kind of transitioned like, this dude ain't paying my mortgage. This dude ain't paying my bills. This dude ain't going to help me get my business bought. Who gives a shit what he thinks?
Once you process it like that, it changes everything.
It does.
It changed everything for me when I would talk about it that way, because then I would be like, why am I putting, even if I would let it creep in, I'm like, why am I putting any value on this? Because it literally has no value.
None.
Like, it has no value.
None.
There's no value to me.
No.
Like, it's not going to contribute to any part of my success.
No. But it's only going to be negative.
Correct.
Because if you let it in, if you let it sink
Yes.
into your head what this person's opinion is,
Yeah.
it can be negative and it can take you down quick.
And then when it's regional, I would always say, my friend that lives in North Carolina, will he know who this guy is? And I know the answer is no. I'd go, why the fuck do I care?
Yeah.
Because it's not an industry problem. It's not a, it's not a Drake Kanye. It's not leaders of the industry. It's some fucking, goofball down the street. The fuck does that matter? It doesn't matter. I had to run it through that stuff. Even family,
so,
yeah.
I took criticism for years from different members of my family, risk, which they didn't understand the risk, had no idea what the actual risk was, but it was not being safe, going outside the box, drinking beer.
You said that your parents got divorced too.
Yeah,
correct?
when I was young.
Okay.
So that really opened up my eyes to the world. I thought that was like a huge emotional break in my life. Looking back now, it wasn't.
How old were you?
17, I think 16.
Okay,
I
so
was
you're a
young.
little
I was in high school. So that's when I started, being wild.
that's when
at that
all the-
point.
yeah,
that's
that
when the
makes sense.
craziness started. Yeah, right in that time frame.
So I wonder too, you looked back at yourself as being lazy, but the reality is you were working a crap load of hours. So that's where I think when Trey asked that, like, where was that switch at? Like, I wonder, because most people probably wouldn't have looked at it through that lens.
I don't know if it was just the way I was brought up. So one thing, it was always a couple sayings was, if I ever said I didn't have time to do something, it was, what'd you do between midnight and 6? Were you sleeping? Because you had time.
Sure.
And then it was anything less than 60 hours is part-time.
I like that.
So
yeah, that's like some coal mining shit
were,
there.
and it
Yeah.
resonated with me where.
That's why I would laugh at
that's true.
40 hours.
Yeah.
Like, what? Like, we had
Yeah,
that
what are
done
you
in
gonna
3.5
do
days.
What are you going to do Wednesday after lunch?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, because we'd be in overtime literally by Wednesday.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I'd be like, 50, 40 hours of overtime. And motherfuckers would be looking at me like, what? But that's how those guys operated, because that's how they got their real
right,
money.
That's how they got it, yeah.
Anything's less than 60 hours is
it,
part-time.
but it really struck, like it resonated with me. And I even say that now. I've used that
That's
quote for
true.
the last 20 years,
Yeah.
Ever since I heard that, I'm like, holy shit, that's pretty good. That's only 512s.
Yeah. Well, the reality, if you think, like, especially in our line of work too, like, we all, in our individual way, owning our craft, we spend 1 million hours on it. It's
Absolutely.
all day long,
Yeah.
right? It never
All the
really
time.
turns
Never
off.
stops.
So it's like you are putting that type of time, and even though it might not be a clock in, clock out like you're talking
Yeah.
about, but it is that amount of time.
I can't tell you how many times about 2 o'clock in the morning I get up to take a piss and I end up sending emails for a half hour because I thought of something on
Yeah.
that journey in, that journey back out. Mm-hmm. And I got 5 emails sent out, and someone would be like, what were you doing at 1:35 in the morning sending me an email?
I like doing that sometimes on purpose just to fuck with people.
Yeah. Well, when I was going
Just to
through
let
all
them know.
and all the contract
Just to
stuff,
let 'em
Yeah, just let them know I'm fucking about it.
Yeah.
Corey's just scheduling emails.
Yeah. It's all for perception.
Said this motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly. You got me, Danny.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to use my fucking email box. You know
I
that.
knew you didn't know how to do that, so that's why I said it.
I got 300,000 emails in it.
He's not lying.
Probably give him
No, it's
anxiety.
Not joking. Yeah.
I get like 50. I'm hitting the panic button. I got to respond.
Dude,
Yeah.
my email box is amazing.
I can only imagine.
You know what's
In
my
his
answer?
spam folder.
Yeah, so my answer to that is because Rachel would ask me, but I go, but I can find everything.
Can you though?
Yeah, because you search it.
Search it.
That's why they made the fucking search button for it.
He found the clips though too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he found those.
Yeah, jeez.
Sorry. That was the.
Yeah, it was fucking Nerf hoop.
Yeah.
Oh, you got anything else?
No, I think like just being so young and seeing like this type of business, you see these businesses, but until you're actually there and you see how much is actually going on, like it's really mind blowing because I'm thinking like there's no way anyone else could come in this business and even attempt to do what you're doing if they didn't start from the ground up.
Facts.
Which like I think even like how I'm in the position I'm where I'm at now, if I don't count all the fucking test boosters, I'm not sitting here. So.
Yeah.
There's just
well, and
levels
also
to it.
Cole really, all these guys throwing the line out to get around me to get to this point. It's the same as you going up and talking to that guy.
Yeah.
You have to say,
Put yourself out
I got to
there.
put myself out there, right? And it's like everyone's earned their spot, fucking crushed it, but like they still have to start the process.
Absolutely.
Whatever that is, and everyone has to do that. Most everyone that has success has that type of story that you said, and that guy led to the next guy, and it's just like. That's what the difference maker
and
is.
usually if someone can tell that you're fucking about it, they will help you. They're not going to tell you to fuck
Right.
off.
I mean, if you pass the test, you know,
Yeah.
if you want someone's time, as a business owner, time is the most important thing you have. It's something that you can't replace. You know, wasting time is horrible for any business owner. So if someone's requesting your time, they better be willing to put something out there that makes it worth that time. And, you know, for me, if someone consults me about a business opportunity or anything like that, I'll say, yeah, I'll meet you. I want you to do X, Y, and Z. Send me an email, detailed out plan, everything that you're going to do. I'll review it. I'll ask questions. We'll have the template completely laid out, and I'll help you. But I'm not going to sit down and meet you for lunch. That ain't how this works. I want a blueprint of what you're going to do. And if you don't have one, then figure it out, and then we'll talk about it.
Yeah, those tests that guy put you through is a lot of stuff. Like
Absolutely.
I had this younger kid came up and met me at the football game the other day, and then he messaged me asking about stuff. I said, lunge every day for 21 days straight. Make sure your fucking knee touches. Track it, then come back to me. And then
That's
we'll
it.
see.
Yeah, that's it.
And I know we're getting up about on that time, so we'll see how serious you know. And I started giving people little things like that. And each individual, back to kind of like throwing the line out there. Cole comes in, counts the test boosters, all that. But the day I actually remember is when he pulled the desk into a corner and said, "This is my spot." That's what he did.
So I
You know
I
what I
can
mean?
resonate to that
Yeah.
100%. So before I became the operations manager of this company, there was internal like turmoil with the company. The previous operations manager, all kind of bad shit, basically. Cody was a safety guy, and he was running the company damn near by himself. I was out in the field, just finished up a job a couple months early, and I came in, and Cody was sleeping on my couch because he lived an hour away at the time. He was sleeping on my couch because he wasn't getting done till like 10 and going back in at 4. So I'm like, this ain't going to work anymore. Dude goes on vacation. I go into the owner at the time, and I say, listen, this is what's going on. This is bullshit. Cody's going to stroke out by himself. I'm the new operations manager as of right now. If you have a problem with it, tell me. If not, I'm going to order a laptop, set up my email,
And
I'm
let's
going to get to
fucking
work.
ride.
And we're going to overhaul this company right now. Dude didn't say a word. He just nodded his head. I went and took all that dude's shit out, put it in a box, set it on the floor, and got to work.
That's fucking amazing.
That's
That
it.
is
Yeah.
wanger banger
Yeah.
right there.
Like-
That's what it is.
No one
Came
was going
back
to give
from
me that
vacation.
opportunity.
Yeah,
I
you
was
took
going
it,
to take
bro.
it.
You fucking took it.
That's, yeah, that's
There was a
amazing.
definite need at that time, and I was not going to let that
Clear
just
cut.
sit there. Yeah.
Well, and
Damn.
individually, each one of these guys had moments like that, like within one of these businesses where they just said, "This is my spot. I got it.
Yeah.
Gas it up. Camera's sitting there. I got
That's
it. The site. It's just like they just take it, and then it's like, it's
If-
yours to lose.
If you wait on opportunity, you're going to
Yeah.
wait a long time.
Facts.
So, a lot of times you just got to make it happen. You got to take it.
Yeah. This is a fucking awesome
Yeah, this
podcast.
was amazing.
Yeah.
That's-
I'm glad we waited like we did, Jay, because then to get the full scope of
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
you've been
Glad we got
through
to
to this
it.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's so fucking cool. It's,
Fuck.
yeah. But that's what this is about, is
No,
to
it's
be able to, and think about this, like, yeah, you do post on social media some, but that's not really your jam. You're
No.
the fucking pipeline CEO now.
Right.
So it's like, this is like what this show is about, to bring these type of stories to light, to inspire the guys that are, and the females that are following us, to say like, damn, like, why am I allowing these things to be road stops, to not have the success of what you've been able to experience?
Anybody can be successful.
Yeah.
You just have to be willing to put in the time. You got to be willing to do what it takes to get it. Anybody, if I can do it, anybody can do it. And I know that's been said 100 million times, but it is true. If I can start with a shovel in my hand at $9 an hour at 18 years old and get where I'm at now at 32, anybody can do it.
Facts.
That's just it. You just got to be willing. You got to be able to figure out who to put in your corner and what it's going to take to get to that point.
Yeah, I always think because of neither of us have any kind of crazy schooling background or any, you just, there's all these things that people think they have to have, and they really just got to really fucking
Determination.
have determination.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And belief. The not scared belief perspective thing is, I wouldn't wish some of those, like what I had to go through, what you had to go through, really on anybody.
No.
But I can't say that I'd be the same, even close,
You wouldn't
if I didn't
No.
go through it.
If it went real smooth and easy, then what happens when something goes wrong?
Yeah,
you
lose
find out who you are in the bad times. Yeah.
Yeah. What'd you just say? You find
out who you are in the bad times, not the good times.
exactly.
I mean, you
Facts.
find out what you're made of at that point.
Yeah, because when you can stand back up from those things, you realize, well, I went through that, so whatever I'm taking on here, I can get through it. I'll find a solution, and everything has a run time. Eventually, it'll fucking let up.
That's it. I remember right toward the end of the deal, the end of 2018, we're getting ready to close. Done told the owner's wife at that point, like, he's going to be unemployed. All this stuff's happening, and our attorney calls, hey, the bank just dropped you. We need to meet up. So we meet up the following week. Vetting all these banks, we go through a month of the gauntlet, just getting told you're a piece of shit, you're never going to make it. We're at the end of it. 10 different banks. We finally had, opportunity with one that we ended up getting to deal with now. And he's like, man, isn't this fun? And he's got a smile. And I'm sitting here like, you motherfucker, I'm about to knock your teeth out. But he was like, man, isn't this fun? And I'm like, no, not really. But looking back now, it was.
Yeah.
I just didn't realize it at the time because I wasn't, transferring that energy into something positive because I was so beat up at that point. 12th round, 30 seconds left.
Yeah.
I'm laying in the corner about dead.
Sure.
But that kind of resonated me to come back and say, this is fun. Like, this is going to be a highlight of my life forever.
Facts.
This will be a turning point in my life where I go from $37,000 net worth to unlimited.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
that's it. And it was.
But it's hard. It's hard when you're in it like that, and it's so aggressive and so tough. But I'll tell you, like, building the new companies past MP, I started to really try to embrace like that part of it. I don't want to say embrace the grind or the suck, but the fact of like the process is really where the sauce is at. Because I've got to a lot of goals and they're awesome, but it lasts for 5 seconds.
The best education I ever got were when things were going wrong.
Yeah.
When things were the toughest. I didn't go to college. I was 18 years old, and 20 grand a year I'm going to make, or I'm going to spend going to school. I'm going to go make 20 grand a year. I'm still going to go to school and just party. Get out of work, go party.
You had the party part down, it sounded like.
but I wasn't going to spend all that money to go to school. I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do at the time. I was going to go for business management. Well, what's the point? I'll just go to work.
Yeah. And buy this motherfucker.
Yeah. But the education.
That was your business school.
Yeah,
it was. Yeah. And then 3 or 4 years of college I went to, getting paid to do it.
That's awesome.
It worked out.
We don't have to talk numbers, but let's talk about like when I came to you to be a partner at Max Effort, right? Because we obviously had a history, and I told you, like, Jake, we're gonna overpay a little bit for this, but I want to give it to you because I thought, not give it to you, show it to you because I thought maybe you'd want an opportunity to be involved. We're gonna get closer or whatever. So talk about whenever that came across your plate.
I mean, we know each other for 15 years. You helped me through all the bodybuilding shows, the different things with the business. You're a business mentor of mine. And it was like, I always thought I was going to be in the fitness space, always for it. I thought forever that was going to be.
As did I.
Right. And it was like 5-6 years, working out, training, but that dream's over. That reality is over. And next thing you know, everything happens. You gave me a call a few weeks before everything, went to hell. And then a few weeks later, you call and say, hey, I got this. Are you in? I was like, send me the documents. I'll wire money a week later. I think, my attorney's like, you should really wait on the rest of this. I said, I'm in. That's no. At the end of the day, it's like, what's the floor? I'll wire this money. I don't get it back. That's the worst that can happen. Sign me up.
Yeah.
Let's go.
No, it was cool to there's a couple instances like that where guys got to get involved that I really wanted involved, Jake being one of them. And just that then he still does have a piece of the fitness stuff. He's here all the time, especially now the facility's here. Like it's been awesome to have you on the ownership team. First thing, he's so intense, right? As well. Like he's like, what do you need from me on a regular basis? I'm like, you run your company now. There is going to be things I'm going to have to come and bounce off of you. John Yole's the same way. And it's like, I know I'm going to get a real response back. That's what I need. I need to know that I have you in my corner, you support it, and that was. But I love this first. What do you need from me on a regular basis? It's like because that's how he operates, and that's what that was my expectation. But it was like I was like, dude, you got so much going on. I just wanted him to be a part of when we build our thing to 8, 10, 12, 15 million. This thing's only going to get more fun.
Right.
It's going to have its challenges too, but it's exciting.
It was kind of a life changer for me to buy into Max, but also get back with the 4 a.m. crew because I was training on my own. A few days a week, I didn't have structure. I wasn't really that dialed in, and my business levels went up so much since I came back. Just because of being around dudes that every day there's accountability. When you hold yourself accountable all the time, it's really difficult to keep progressing. When you got a group of dudes, it makes a huge difference.
That was a good switch for you.
It was, yeah.
That's awesome.
And I needed the structure back too. You know, I was not waking up at 3. I was maybe waking up at 5 or 6 or 7.
Such a fucking slacker.
You know, I know. You know, sleeping 6, 7 hours a night. You know? But having that structure back. Just even like the camaraderie of chit-chatting a little bit more than we normally would, because we would text back and forth, but you know, seeing each other almost every day, like like you said, that just changes a lot about the operation in general. Absolutely.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Anything else, guys? What a fucking great episode. Where can people find you out on social? Jake?
Jacob Emery 44. That's on IG.
There it is.
That's the only one I'm
Lock
active
it
on
in.
at all. Yep.
Hell yeah. I'm your boy Corey G at Small Arms Danny at Trey Speed and the graphic gangster himself, Cole Susak. It was great having you here, dude.
Appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, man. All right, we're out.